fuck you, Eddie Van Halen, for saying that about Mikey. You're a liar.
Months before Eddie Van Halen passed away, he pulled Sammy Hagar close and made him swear to something huge. It was a secret so serious that Eddie didn't even want his own brother Alex to hear about it. The brothers hadn't spoken in years, and the silence between them was heavy. But then, out of nowhere, a comedian stepped in and helped set up one final conversation, one last shot at peace before time ran out. During that final talk, Eddie opened up about a dream he refused to let die. He told Sammy he still believed they would reunite for a massive tour, bringing everybody back together for one more explosion on stage. He looked Sammy in the eye and said they would make noise again once he beat his illness. That hope was real to him. Sammy held on to those words and kept that promise locked away for years. Now he's finally speaking on what Eddie whispered to him before the end, and it changes everything. But to understand why that promise meant so much, you have to go back to the beginning of Sammy Hagar's story. On April 1st, 1985, Van Halen announced that David Lee Roth had quit. The date made fans think it was an April Fool's joke. But it wasn't funny. It was real. Just months earlier, the band had played the U.S. Festival in front of 375,000 people and earned $1 million. They were dominating the charts with hits like Jump and Panama. From the outside, everything looked unstoppable. Behind the curtain, though, pressure had been building. Roth wanted more creative control and a bigger voice in decisions. That push created friction inside the band. Noel Monk, their manager, later said almost nobody outside their inner circle saw the split coming. When the news dropped, it hit like a shockwave. Fans were stunned. The rock world felt shaky. And while everyone else was still processing it, the band was already searching for a new frontman who could keep the engine roaring. That's when Sammy's name started floating around. Then came a moment that sounds almost too random to be true. Eddie Van Halen spotted Sammy's Ferrari at an auto shop. Something about it caught his attention. It was simple, casual, no big dramatic setup. Eddie decided to call him right there. Sammy later joked that he always believed that call would happen. He had told friends for years that one day he'd end up in Van Halen. Now the phone was ringing. When they finally met, Sammy noticed something right away. Eddie didn't carry the flashy, wild energy people linked to Roth. He was calm, focused, and serious about music. They talked about building something new, about the future, about evolving the sound. What started with a random car sighting slowly turned into serious conversations about a new chapter neither of them had fully planned. But Sammy wasn't walking in blind. During their talks, he asked straight-up business questions. He wanted numbers. How much did they make on the last tour? How were profits split? The answers shocked him. Despite their massive fame, the band divided earnings evenly and had spent nearly everything. Sammy realized something huge. As a solo artist, he had been making 3 times more per tour than any single member of Van Halen. All of that made Sammy realize something important. Van Halen didn't just need a singer. They needed someone steady, someone grounded. When they finally jammed together for the first time, the chemistry was instant. Sammy started scatting random melodies, just feeling the groove. Out of nowhere, the words, "Summer Nights" and "My Radio" slipped out. That spark slowly shaped itself into, "Why Can't This Be Love?" You could feel the shift in the room. The band already had 5 rough songs outlined, but Sammy's energy changed the direction completely. His voice softened some edges and strengthened others. The sound evolved. Producer Mick Jones stepped in and polished everything, tightening the hooks and shaping it for radio. When Mo Austin from Warner Brothers heard the track performed live, he said, "I smell money." That wasn't hype. It was instinct. The song exploded. Doubters who thought Van Halen would fall apart without Roth had to rethink everything. The band wasn't shrinking. They were transforming. Recording Dreams pushed things even further. Mick Jones challenged Sammy to hit the highest notes he could possibly reach. Sammy pushed so hard in the studio that he started to hyperventilate and nearly passed out. That's how intense it got. But inside that pressure, magic happened. One perfect take came through. The chorus soared, and when Sammy sang, "We'll Get Higher and Higher," it became one of the most unforgettable moments in the band's history. That kind of performance doesn't come easy. It comes with strain. It comes with doubt. But sometimes greatness shows up when you push past what feels safe. From the moment Sammy officially joined in 1985, the band started stacking wins. 5150 dropped in 1986, then OU 812 in 1988. For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge in 1991, Balance in 1995. Every single one of those albums hit #1 on the Billboard 200. That's 4 straight chart toppers with 2 different lead singers. No other band had ever pulled that off. Together, those albums sold more than 16 million copies worldwide. 5,150 alone moved over 8.8 million. They weren't just charting. They were selling out stadiums across the United States and around the globe. By 1996, Van Halen made history as the only band to have 2 different frontmen each lead 4 consecutive #1 albums. That's not luck, that's dominance. For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge even won a Grammy in 1991 for Best Hard Rock Performance. The awards matched the sales matched the tours matched the energy. The Van Hagar era forced critics to admit something they didn't expect. This version of the band worked. Their first single with Sammy, "Why Can't This Be Love," dropped on March 24th, 1986. It entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 52 and kept climbing until it reached number 3 by May 17th. It held that spot for a week and stayed on the chart for 16 weeks total. At the same time, it topped the Cashbox Top 100. The track also became a hit in the UK, Australia, and Sweden. In the United States, it went gold after selling more than 500,000 copies. Critics who predicted disaster had to sit back and watch the numbers rise. Fans didn't reject the change, they embraced it. The new sound didn't weaken the band. It opened a whole new chapter. From 1985 to 1996, that era ran hard for 11 straight years. Constant recording, constant touring, constant pressure. Every studio album during that stretch hit #1. 5,150 sold 8.8 million. OU 812 moved 4 million. For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge reached nearly 5 million. Balance climbed to 3 million. The Grammy win added another stamp of credibility. But even with all that success, cracks were forming behind the scenes. By 1996, tension between Sammy and the Van Halen brothers started building again. The wins were massive. The legacy was undeniable. Yet pressure has a way of testing even the strongest runs. And another turning point was waiting just around the corner. That era still stands as one of the strongest chapters in Van Halen's entire history. The numbers were huge, the tours were massive, and the creative spark was undeniable. No other band had matched that exact run with 2 different lead singers hitting 4 straight #1 albums. That alone put them in rare air. What made those years even more powerful was how much Eddie flourished with Sammy behind the mic. For the first time, Eddie had a vocalist who could actually sing the melodies he heard in his head. That freedom unlocked something new in him. He started writing more layered emotional tracks like Dreams and Love Walks In. The sound got bigger, richer, more textured. Producer Mick Jones played a key role in that growth. He pushed Sammy hard in the studio, demanding stronger takes and tighter phrasing. He challenged the band to stretch past their comfort zone. Long jam sessions were shaped into radio-ready anthems. Jones tightened up, "Why Can't This Be Love?" and helped turn Eddie's synth ideas into the soaring opening of dreams. With deadlines closing in and pressure high, that focus helped 5150 become a monster success. Losing longtime producer Ted Templeman could have slowed them down. Instead, working with Jones shifted the energy. He anchored the transition, helping the band move forward instead of looking back. The result was a new era packed with hits, packed with ambition, and packed with growth. But not every chapter was bright. By the time the 2004 reunion tour came around, things had changed in a painful way. Sammy later described Eddie as struggling heavily with alcohol and substance issues during that period. It affected his playing. Some fans said they could barely recognize certain songs because the performances felt unstable. Sammy shared that Eddie looked extremely thin and worn down. It was hard to watch. There were tense moments behind the scenes, too. On one private flight, Eddie reportedly smashed windows with a wine bottle during an outburst. The situation felt chaotic. Sammy admitted he became deeply worried. Not about ticket sales, not about reviews, about Eddie's life. At one point, Sammy wanted to leave the tour after around 40 shows, but contract penalties made walking away complicated. He felt stuck. The entire stretch became one of the darkest periods in the band's story. It left emotional scars that lasted for years. The weight of it all felt even heavier knowing Eddie's medical battles. In 2000, doctors found a serious condition on his tongue that turned out to be cancer. Surgery removed roughly a third of his tongue. Eddie later believed years of smoking and holding metal guitar picks in his mouth may have contributed to the illness. By 2002, he was declared cancer-free. That news gave people hope, but the fight wasn't fully over. Cancer later returned in his throat. The surgeries and long-term strain on his body left him physically weaker. Those health challenges added another layer of difficulty to the 2004 tour. Every night before stepping on stage during that run, Sammy had a quiet ritual. He would sit alone in his dressing room and listen closely to Eddie's guitar, not just to hear a warm-up. He was listening to see if Eddie could still play steady enough to get through the show. That small moment carried so much fear. Sammy later said he worried Eddie might collapse in front of thousands of fans. He worried about something going terribly wrong under the lights. It became one of the most stressful experiences of his life. It all started with something so small that nobody thought it could blow up the way it did. Just one lyric, one line in a new song. That's it. But by June 1996, the tension inside the band was already stacked high, and that tiny spark was enough to set everything off. The fight centered around a track connected to the movie Twister. Eddie Van Halen believed one specific lyric had to be changed because the film's director didn't want the song tied too closely to the movie's storyline. Sammy didn't agree. He felt the song was already strong and that changing the line would weaken it. To him, it wasn't just a word swap, it was about creative respect. What should have been a quick studio debate turned into something much deeper. Voices got sharper. Patience ran thin. You could feel that this wasn't only about a lyric. It was about months of frustration that had never been fully cleared out. Then it escalated fast. By the end of that same week, Eddie called Sammy and told him he was out. Just like that. He said Sammy acted like a solo artist inside the band, so maybe he should go be one for real. The speed of it hit Sammy hard. One minute they're arguing over a line in a song. The next minute, 10 years of history are erased in a single phone call. And it didn't stop there. Right after that conversation, Eddie reportedly drove straight to David Lee Roth's house. That move traveled through the music world at lightning speed. Sammy later said it felt worse than sleeping with the enemy. Roth wasn't just any singer. He was the original frontman, the one Sammy had been compared to for years. The one people constantly used as the measuring stick. Within days, Eddie and Roth were back in the studio together. They recorded 2 new tracks for the band's best of album. Fans were stunned. The press lit up with speculation. Headlines flew everywhere. Meanwhile, Sammy was left processing it all from the outside. He said he had no warning, no clear sign that a reunion was already in motion behind closed doors. He only found out after it was already happening. 5 days after Eddie met with Roth, the phone rang again. It was June 16th, 1996. Sammy picked up, not expecting another blow. Eddie told him he never listened, never followed direction, and repeated that same line about being a solo artist. The call was blunt, cold, final. Sammy later described feeling breathless hearing it delivered that way. 10 years together ended in minutes. On June 26, 1996, the band made it official. Sammy was out, Roth was back. The split became one of the most abrupt shakeups in rock history. 4 #1 albums, massive tours, a Grammy. And it all ended behind curtains, with almost no warning to the man who had fronted the band through its most commercially dominant stretch. But the cracks had started earlier. Back in October 1993, the band's longtime manager, Ed Loeffler, passed away from cancer. He had been more than a manager. He was the stabilizer, the referee, the guy who kept big personalities from colliding too hard. After his death, they hired Ray Daniels, who was connected to Alex Van Halen. Sammy never felt comfortable with the change. Without that steady presence, tensions slowly intensified. Arguments grew sharper. Trust thinned out. Sammy began feeling like an outsider in conversations that once felt united. Loeffler's absence wasn't just a business loss. It removed the one person who could calm storms before they turned into hurricanes. Sammy never liked the idea of a greatest hits album. To him, it felt like a signal that a band was running out of fresh ideas. He believed Van Halen was still strong, still creative. But pressure from the label and management kept building. Eventually, he gave in. He went along with it, even though it didn't sit right with him. Then came another hit. One of his songs, written for the Twister soundtrack, was suddenly replaced with an instrumental track called Respect the Wind. The other song, originally titled The Silent Extreme, evolved into Humans Being. But even that track got tangled in the same lyric fight that would eventually end everything. The studio wasn't just a creative space anymore. It felt like a battlefield. Sammy started feeling pushed to the side. Decisions were being made without him fully in the loop. At the same time, he wanted something simple, time with his family, a break from non-stop pressure. Instead, he felt pulled into recording material that didn't even feel like it counted. Watching one of his songs get replaced cut deep. To him, it signaled something bigger. It felt like respect was fading. That tension made the split unavoidable. But while one door closed, another one exploded open in a completely different world. In 1996, the same year everything unraveled with the band, Sammy opened Cabo Wabo Cantina in Mexico. What started as a party spot for fans slowly turned into something much bigger. He teamed up with a family-run distillery in Jalisco and launched Cabo Wabo Tequila. At first, people thought it was just another celebrity side hustle. They were wrong. In its very first year, Cabo Wabo sold 37,000 cases. That shocked the spirits industry. Rock stars weren't supposed to build serious liquor brands. But this wasn't just about putting his name on a label. Sammy was hands-on. He cared about the taste. He wanted it smoother and stronger than the mass-market bottles crowding store shelves. By 2006, annual sales jumped to 147,000 cases. Cabo Wabo became the second best-selling premium tequila in the United States. Awards started stacking up from international competitions. Revenue climbed to around $60 million a year. What started as a fun project turned into a real company, complete with a national sales team and global recognition. Sammy's personality fueled the marketing. His story was printed on the bottle. Fans connected with it, but more importantly, customers kept buying it because it was good. The brand grew far beyond the stage. Then came May 7th, 2007. Sammy sold 80% of Cabo Wabo to Grupo Campari for $80 million. The number stunned people around him. Later, he sold the remaining 20% for an additional $11 to $15 million. Altogether, he walked away with nearly $95 million from a business he built from scratch. That payday reportedly surpassed what he had earned from decades in music. It proved something powerful. He wasn't just a frontman, he was a businessman who knew how to build. Years later, another storm formed. In October 2024, Alex Van Halen released a memoir titled Brothers. Readers quickly noticed something glaring. The book ended in 1985, right before Sammy joined the band. The entire Van Hagar era was left out. 11 years, 4 #1 albums, major tours, Grammy wins, gone from the timeline. The omission sparked backlash. Sammy didn't stay quiet. He called it blasphemy, saying it erased the work he and Eddie created together. To him, it wasn't just about pride. It was about history. The tension between Sammy and Alex had already stretched for over 2 decades. They hadn't spoken since around 2005. No real communication, no reconciliation. Sammy has said he tried to understand the silence, but the wall never came down. Alex had no clear path to tour on his own, and business disagreements only made things colder. Cabo Wabo's massive success created even more distance, especially since Alex had nothing to do with it. The tension lingered in the background of every interview, every documentary clip, every time the band's history was brought up. It never fully disappeared. In 2025, Sammy sent a direct message to Alex. He said he didn't want problems. He didn't want public back and forth. He just wanted peace. He made it clear he was still out there performing Van Halen songs, keeping the catalog alive, and generating revenue for everyone involved. What he wanted most was simple: recognition for the era he helped build. To Sammy, the conflict wasn't just about old arguments. It was about identity, about pride, about who gets to tell the story of one of the biggest rock bands in history. That question still hangs in the air. But behind all the public tension, another story had been unfolding quietly. Months before Eddie Van Halen passed away in October 2020, comedian George Lopez helped reconnect Eddie and Sammy after years of silence. It wasn't planned as some huge media moment. It was personal. During that reunion, Eddie opened up about something he hadn't shared publicly. He told Sammy he wanted to bring everyone back together for one final tour, one last run. He said they would make noise again once he beat his illness. He even made Sammy promise not to tell Alex. Eddie wanted to reveal it himself when the time was right. That promise stayed heavy on Sammy's heart. Eddie reportedly believed they would reunite the following year. He just needed to get stronger. That hope felt real in the room. The dream had a name: the Kitchen Sink Tour. The concept had reportedly been floating around since 2015. Eddie and his son Wolfgang were thinking big. The idea was to unite every major era of Van Halen on one stage: Roth, Hagar, even bringing back key figures who shaped the journey. Promoter Irving Azoff was involved in early conversations. Michael Anthony had been approached. If it had happened, it could have been one of the biggest reunion tours in rock history, but time wasn't on their side. In late 2017, doctors reportedly gave Eddie a devastating prognosis. He was told he had only weeks to live. Treatment overseas extended his life by several years, giving fans more moments than anyone expected. Still, his health continued to decline. As plans slowly formed, reality moved faster. The tour never came together. Wolfgang later shared that not completing that reunion was one of his father's deepest regrets. The vision was there, the desire was there, the timing just wasn't. Through all the highs and heartbreak, Sammy kept building his life beyond the band. By 2025, his estimated net worth reached around $150 million. A large portion came from his business ventures, especially Cabo Wabo tequila, which brought in close to $100 million from its sale. Music royalties reportedly added tens of millions more over the years. Real estate investment strengthened his portfolio even further. It wasn't luck. It was smart moves stacked over time. But beyond the numbers, family stayed at the center of everything. Sammy married Betsy Berardi in 1968, and they had 2 sons, Aaron and Andrew. After their divorce in 1994, he married Carrie Carty in 1995. Together they welcomed 2 daughters, Kama in 1996 and Samantha in 2001. Through every band split, every tour, every headline, his family remained his anchor. In 2008, Sammy and his family launched the Hagar Family Foundation, focusing on helping children and fighting hunger. Giving back became part of his legacy. He often said the real success wasn't platinum records or sold-out arenas. It was having people around him who believed in him long before the fame arrived. And that's where this chapter stands. A story filled with music, conflict, loyalty, loss, business wins, and unfinished dreams. The legacy is still being debated. The emotions are still real. And the impact of those years still echoes loud. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more stories like this, make sure you like the video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. We've got more powerful stories on the way, and you won't want to miss them. See you in the next video.
I never really had a lot of respect for Dave. I mean, he was a good frontman of that style.